whiskey noobs and whiskey lovers alike, welcome in. My name is Bradley. We're gonna have some whiskey today. Welcome to the first episode, the first ever one of my whiskey adventure right here on YouTube. Because it's episode 1, I thought I'd just talk a little bit before we try this beautiful whiskey we're about to try. My name is Bradley. I'm from Canada, 25 years old. That's how old, if you're looking at it like, he looks 30 or like he looks 20, no, it's 25, exactly 25. And I've liked whiskey for a while, but I've never really cared about it. And then I took a trip to Scotland and Ireland, and this is where the whiskey connoisseurs are going. Aha! He went there, found out he loved whiskey, and now he's drinking in front of other people on the internet. And that's exactly what happened. So what I thought would be fun is as I explore my newfound passion for this beautiful beverage, I thought I would explore that and document it online. So for you guys to hopefully find entertaining and informative, but also for my own learning and just because it's fun. It gives me an excuse to drink some whiskey, and it felt a lot better going to the liquor store today to buy the whiskey when I knew I was going to be doing this. It made it a little easier to justify paying the money for it. So we're here. The first whiskey we are going to try is, I thought we'd start off with a classic of mine. Now, I don't have a lot of classics. I have not been drinking whiskey for a long time. I know almost nothing about it, but I'm gonna do my best. That's why it's part 1 of the adventure and not part 1000. We're gonna start with 40 Creek Canadian whiskey, premium barrel select, their kind of flagship product. All right, this is made by John Hall in Ontario, Canada. That I knew already. I don't know much more about it. I do know that 40 Creek, and John Hall specifically, has a weird way of blending the whiskey, where it's a bit hard to find a mash bill because they distill, or he distills, or however many people at 40 Creek. Look, there could be lots of people there, I don't know. They distill each grain separately and then mix them together at the end, which is a little bit different than how a lot of people make whiskey. And the reason why I started with this is it's cheap, right? This comes in at 40% ABV, 80 proof, which is not high. It's the minimum to be called whiskey, but it comes in around, I paid just under $25 Canadian for this, so very well priced and very good for the money. Very, very good for the money. It was, as I was dabbling in whiskey to start, this was my favorite Canadian, and for me, Canadian whiskey's the cheapest, right? Because I'm in Canada, and it's just, that's how it works. I'm sure in Scotland, Scottish whiskey, or Scotch, is pretty cheap as well, or cheaper than it is here. So, I don't know what it'll cost where you are. I don't know how available it is where you are. I think it's pretty popular, at least in America as well. Very good for the price. And I thought we'd start with that. I think it's the perfect place to jump off on a whiskey journey, but never fear, just because I'm Canadian doesn't mean we're sticking in Canada forever. We've got some Irish whiskeys coming up in the next episode, so that'll be fun for you. A little bit of Jameson and a little bit of a sneaky something else. But we're gonna start with 40 Creek Barrel Select flagship product. I've got my Glencairn glasses. They are my favorite glasses. I'm just gonna have a little bit. I'll have another dram later tonight. And then as a bit of a comparison, as I learn about whiskey, I'll just put that right in the frame there. As I learn about whiskey, I've learned that A-B comparisons are one of the best ways for you to learn, whether it's on the nose, whether it's on the palate, whatever it is you're trying to learn. So I have the 40 Creek Copper Pot Canadian whiskey. This is probably their second most popular whiskey. It rings in just above $25, 43%, and I'm assuming it is copper pot stilled, as opposed to this, which is probably column stilled if I had to take a guess. I don't actually know that, but it's a bit of a different whiskey, and it is a 40 Creek that I can compare to this. We will be doing a copper pot review in a different episode, but I thought for this one it is nice to have a comparison. So let's go with the 40 Creek Barrel Select on the nose. Ooh, citrus pops out at me. Citrus, vanilla, a little bit of honey. And there's something approaching like graham cracker. I don't know what it is in the whiskey, and this is like, I don't have an advanced palate or sense of smell yet when it comes to whiskey, so I know I'm going to be naming like the obvious things, but I get this thing There's a note of something that, it reminds me of like, you know when you sit in front of you're sitting in a chair, you're sitting in front of the fire at like Christmas time? Like not a cocoa, but like a graham cracker, as if you were building a graham cracker house. You know you do that at Christmas, right, with the icing and the graham crackers. As if you were doing that at Christmas time is this weird note that it's reminding me of. It's very good, easy, approachable, obviously 40% ABV, and Canadian whiskey isn't even the strongest whiskey out there. There's no spicy notes. I don't think there's a lot of rye in this if I had to take a guess. I have no idea, but not a lot of spice at all on the palate. Ooh, the honey sticks out there. You get the vanilla. The finish is very short. It kind of goes in, it goes out. You get a lot of that vanilla. Something a little bit grassy even. It reminds me of being outside. The honey sticks out, the vanilla comes in a second. There's a little bit of spiciness at the end, but not a lot, just a little bit. Very, like I've already tried this one and I know I like it. So very easy, very approachable. Second time through, I'm getting more of that graham cracker that I was getting on the nose. All in all, the nose and the palate really line up. There's not a lot when you smell the whiskey that changes on the palate. It kind of just makes perfect sense. Your brain kind of is like, oh, that's what I smelled and that's what I taste. Very, very good. Now let us take the copper pot. I haven't actually opened this bottle yet. I've only had this once. Not even a full bottle, just a dram one time. And so we will take this right here and we will crack it open for the first time. And we will see what the copper pot is all about. So keeping in mind that on the Barrel Select, I got a lot of honey and vanilla and graham cracker. This is 3% stronger. Actually, while it's airing out, let's talk about this a little bit. We'll do a separate review on this. But 40 Creek Copper Pot, 43% ABV. John Hall, still the distiller at 40 Creek. I'm assuming it uses a copper pot still. Does it say on the back? At 40 Creek, we are not much bound by tradition as we are inspired by it. 40 Creek whiskeys are made with passion and patience to create award-winning whiskeys which are complex and intricate, but above all else, smooth and enjoyable. Amen, I agree. 40 Creek Copper Pot is a bold, intensely woody whiskey, interesting, with a deep and rich taste profile. I feel like all whiskeys say this. Don't you think all whiskeys probably say this about themselves? This unique, delectable blend is bottled at a higher proof to complement its deep it's 43% higher proof. Okay, you want to put higher proof on there, go cast strength, baby. Don't mess around. It doesn't really say. It just says copper pot a whole bunch of times. I'm assuming that's the still. For those of you whiskey people in the comments that actually know this, you can tell me. On the nose. Ooh. All right, it's similar, but just darker. Just a little bit darker. Like I'm getting the honey again, but the honey is much more like a dark. If you guys have ever been, I live right next to a place literally called the Honeybee Center, so honey tasting is my jam. I love it. And they have like different types of honey that you can taste, and I'm getting a lot of that darker honey note. Not so much citrus, but fruity. Dark fruits, not the smell of pomegranate or like plum, but the feel of that, like a darker fruity element to it. And a little bit of cinnamon. And a little bit, a little bit of cinnamon, but overall, I'm not getting as much out of this one as I did out of the, I'm left-handed, so I just use my left hand a lot. Yeah, there's definitely, this one's not as complex, but it's easier to pick out what's in there. Yeah, I'm getting still a lot of the vanilla, a lot of the honey, a lot of the graham cracker, and I can pick out the three kind of separately. Yeah, and you can smell that it's definitely a slightly higher proof, a little bit more ethanol in there, but nothing interesting on the palate. There's the difference. Much different on the palate. So this one, the palate and the nose don't line up really at all. A lot more spicy, a little bit of a spice kick at the end. We'll go one more time and see if I can pull anything else out of this. Ooh. Yeah, you get a lot more of that, I'm assuming rye spice, or just a lot more spice from wherever. A lot more kind of a woody feel to it. So I'm assuming a lot more of that barrel character is coming out. Is it aged in anything different? Copper pot. It doesn't say, no age statement or anything. It doesn't say what barrels. I'm assuming oak. I just don't know, like first fill oak, second fill oak. Yeah, it wouldn't be new oak. I'm not sure. You're definitely getting, yeah, it wouldn't be new oak. What am I saying? But you're definitely getting, yeah, this time around I'm getting a little more sugary, like that dark honey note. Yeah, you're definitely getting a little more spice, a little more of those wood kind of barrel characters. The higher ABV brings the palate alive a little bit more than the Barrel Select. Interesting. Interesting. Well, because this is a review of the Barrel Select and not the Copper Pot, I'll leave the Copper Pot there, and I'll approach this one more time after having had the Copper Pot. Yeah, you just get all of that graham crackers. Every time I smell it, it's like my brain's like, yeah, I get honey, I get vanilla, yeah, I get to the graham cracker. That's kind of what my brain wants to pull out of it. Yeah, a little bit of that vanilla, a little bit of honey. Yeah, much smoother. I don't even know if smoother is the right word. Yeah, easier on the palate, more approachable is maybe the word I'm looking for. Interesting. I would say it's probably as you expect. You expect the Copper Pot to be a little stronger, a little more complex. It definitely is on the palate, but overall this is a little more well-rounded to me. On the nose it's fantastic, on the palate it's fantastic. It tastes good, it's smooth, it's not spicy. Again, very approachable for a whiskey noob like myself. There's nothing complicated going on. You're not getting anything too complex, but what is there stands out. It's blended really nicely. You can tell they were making like it's even a budget whiskey, like a budget Canadian whiskey, where they didn't compromise on anything to get there. It's still really, really good. Yeah, I love this. It's very good. I would recommend it to anyone who's looking for an entry point into Canadian whiskey that isn't Crown Royal or Canadian Club or any of those other ones that people tend to just write off, or Alberta Premium. Very nice, very approachable. All in all, it's about what I expect. It's about what I expected. I knew coming in what I was gonna like about it and not like about it. It's very, very good. For the money, it's fantastic. On its own, it's fantastic. Nose matches the palate really nicely. Very approachable, very drinkable. Now, on the whiskey journey, when we grade whiskeys, we're not gonna give numbers. It's so subjective, and how am I even meant to remember exactly what I tasted, when I tasted it, and you know, as different batches are selected and barrels are selected and different things happen, you can get the same whiskey that tastes a little bit different from run to run, depending on when you get it and where you buy it and those types of things. And so I thought we would go with a little bit of a word chart instead to describe it. It's a little more fun, unique way of doing this. We'll start at the bottom. I don't expect to ever give this rating, but the bottom is catastrophe. This is something, just don't ever drink it. Ever, 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 for any reason, put it in your mouth. Then we have terrible. Terrible is, if you have it, like mix it with Coke, give it to someone who just wants to, I don't know. Again, I'm not gonna be giving many terribles. People make good whiskey, I don't know, but it's there. It needs to be there so we have a full spectrum of ranks. Then we have bad. I'm probably gonna give this a lot. Anything that's just bad, it's what it is, it's just bad. You're like, oh, do you like that whiskey? Like, nah, it's bad. Right, I don't have a big complicated thing. We have meh. Meh is just like, hey, how'd you like 40 Creek? Meh, right? Like it's exactly what it says. That's just how you feel about it. Then we have good. Good is the one I'm probably gonna give out the most. Good means it's a good whiskey. You should buy it. It's good, and price is subjective and taste is subjective, but it's just good. Great and outstanding. right? I don't need to explain those. They're self-explanatory. And then at the top, there's a secret sneaky one at the top. I don't know if I'll ever give this rating at the top, but there's one at the top that I'm excited to give out one day. But we'll keep that a secret. I think it's pretty funny. But yeah, I would expect most of the whiskeys go bad, meh, good, great, like that section of the rankings. But outstanding, the super secret one, catastrophe, and terrible are there, just in case we need them. Just in case something goes horribly wrong with some batch and it accidentally gets bottled and we have to taste it. So all in all, I am going to give the 40 Creek Barrel Select, just the standard flagship 40 Creek, I'm gonna give it a good rating. I wanna give it great, but I know I'm a little bit biased because it's kind of my first whiskey love. It's the first one I after trying all the kind of Canadian, the Canadian budget ones, that I really, really liked. It's nice, neat, it's nice on the rocks. I've never made a cocktail with it, but it's getting hot here. It's summertime in Canada, and so putting it on the rocks every once in a while is totally doable. I'm gonna give it good. The reason why I'm not gonna give it great is I've had great whiskeys on some whiskey tasting tours. Not that I remember what they were or what I liked about them, but it's not quite there, I don't think. But it's very good, very, very good, as close to great as you can get, especially considering the money. Especially considering the money, if a stranger on the street or a stranger at the bottle shop said, hey, I'm thinking about 40 Creek, what would you say? I would say it's very good, you should buy it. And that does it today. Let's just have another sip, just one more sneaky sip before this is over. Oh, so delicious. It's so, so good. Anyways, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for watching this review of 40 Creek Barrel Select Whiskey. My name is Bradley. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit that like button. Hit that like button. What am I saying? Come on, Brad. This would be easier with a teleprompter, you know? Hit that like button if you like the video. It helps other people find it. It helps other people go on their own whiskey journeys. I'd love to do this with more of you. We also have Twitter. That link is in the description below, and a Patreon. Now, if you head over to the Patreon, there are some super awesome rewards there for all the different Patreon tiers that we have set up. So head over there. All of the Patreon, all of the patrons, all of the supporters of this program, all of them. Why is my camera freaking out? That focus is going crazy. All the supporters on Patreon, they get shoutouts among other things. There's some cool rewards down there, so definitely check it out. All of it goes into buying more cool whiskey for us to try. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you'll be able to find and try 40 Creek along your own whiskey journeys. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.